Call to order the regular council meeting of the City of Santa Paula today, Wednesday, February 4th, 6:30 p.m. If everyone who can stand, please stand. Join me for the invocation. Invocation will be Chaplain K. Wilson Bolton.
Good evening, council and staff. I usually pray from my heart, but because of so many issues surrounding us, I prepared some comments so I don't wander. So that's okay. Creator God, we are aware of your goodness, especially each morning when we have another chance to do good and to be better. Help us to support all matters of justice, beginning in our homes and our neighborhoods. I ask a special prayer tonight for those standing in the gap for us and our need for a hospital. The Valley needs and deserves services for rescue and saving lives. Give county leaders the will to provide these services for us. We're grateful for those who govern with good intentions and for all employees of this city. The world is messy, God, and we need help to fix it. Change hearts and minds where needed. And in familiar words of St. Francis, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Bless the words exchanged in this meeting tonight, and we thank you now for what you will do in our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain Wilson. Councilmember Chavez, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you please roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Cornejo.
Here.
Councilmember Ornelas.
Here.
Vice Mayor Crosswhite.
Here.
Mayor Juarez.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Our attorney, Monica Castillo, do you have a closed session report not only from today but also from 2 weeks ago?
I do have it for today, and I also have one from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, the council met in closed session to discuss a performance evaluation of the city manager. There were no reportable actions that evening. Earlier today, council recessed in a closed session to discuss item 5A on the special agenda. That is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. There is significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 and E1 relating to 2 potential cases. There were no reportable actions taken. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Now we're going to move to public comment. If anybody needs Spanish translation, please contact Julie Blashaw. Si alguien necesita oír en español, arrímense por favor a Miss Julie por el equipo. Okay. I'm going to take item 6, which are public comment. I have several. I'll call them out, and just remember that you have 3 minutes. 3 minutes for the English, and also if you have translation, it'll also be 3 minutes. So we'll start off with Tim True, followed by Amelia Ochoa.
Good evening. I was here a couple of weeks ago to speak in support of the REC and their use of the Union Oil building, and that's what I'm here again tonight to do on the open agenda. I'd like to encourage the city to reestablish negotiations with the REC and try to bring a deal to fruition. The REC has offered to lease part of the building that would house the city's collection, and also to pay to curate and maintain that collection. So they're offering a significant amount of money between the rent and the amount of money it's going to take to curate the city's collection. The city's collection is huge, it's important, and it's something that I've been involved with for several years now. And A lot of it is paper, it's deteriorating, and it needs a lot of work. So they're willing to put the money forth to do that, and they've hired somebody that's a professional at doing it. So I see this as a win for the city, and I'd hate to see this opportunity slide by. And I just really encourage the council and the city to continue their negotiations and work something out as quickly as possible to get them in the building. So the building doesn't generate any income right now. It'll generate income, and it'll save the city money from having to take care, curate, or maintain the city's collection. So again, please reconsider and try to work out a deal with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Amalia Ochoa, followed by Maria Robles.
Buenas tardes, miembros del concilio, vicealcaldesa y alcalde Carlos Juárez. Mi nombre es Amalia Ochoa, líder comunitaria y activista con causa. Hoy esta noche estoy aquí para abogar por las familias que han sido afectadas por las redadas de ICE. En el mes de enero, en la calle Santa Bárbara y Dean Drive, se llevó a 2 trabajadores, aproximadamente a las 5:30 de la mañana, dejando esposas e hijos sin protección ni mantenimiento. En febrero, otra vez en la mañana, volvieron a arrestar a otra persona en la panadería Yadira, por la avenida Harbor. Yo, Amalia, como un líder, escucho tantas historias de personas aterrorizadas con tanto miedo. A veces tengo que escuchar que ya mejor no quieren vivir y tengo que hablarles que les prometo luchar por ellos. Hoy alzo mi voz para pedirles urgentemente apoyo, acción y más fondos para ayudar a todas las familias que viven aterrorizadas, afectadas por ICE. Es necesario aprobar una resolución que condene las prácticas discriminatorias y racistas de agentes de ICE. Es algo simple y evidente. No apoyamos acciones que ponen en riesgo a nuestra comunidad por su raza, su origen o su estatus migratorio. Pongan las manos en el corazón para ayudarlos. Ellos lo merecen. Ya no deben sufrir más tantas crueldades. Ayuden con un mensaje de apoyo y fondos legales que tanto necesitan ellos. Dios cuide de nuestra comunidad que vive con tanto terror y miedo. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
I'll be translating for Amalia. Good afternoon, council members, vice mayor, and Mayor Carlos Juarez. My name is Amalia Ochoa. I am a community leader and activist with Cause. Tonight, I am here to speak up for the families who have been affected by ICE raids. In the month of January on Santa Barbara Street and Dean Drive, 2 workers were taken around 5:30 in the morning, leaving their wives and children without protection or support. In February, early in the morning, once again, another person was arrested at Yadira's Bakery on Harvard Boulevard. I, Amalia, as a leader, hear so many stories from people who are terrified, living with so much fear. Sometimes I have to hear them say no, they no longer want to live here, and I have to talk to them and promise them that I will fight for them. Today, I raise my voice to urgently ask for your support, action, and more funding to help all the families who are living in fear and have been affected by ICE. It is necessary to approve a resolution that condemns the discriminatory and racist practices of ICE agents. It is simple and clear. We do not support actions that put our community at risk because of their race, their origin, or their immigration status. Put your hands on your hearts to help them. They deserve it. They should not have to suffer so much cruelty anymore. Help them with a message of support and with the legal funds they so desperately need. May God protect our community that lives with so much terror and fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Maria Robles, followed by Michael Nelson.
Good afternoon, fellow City Council Mayor, Vice Mayor, and all the City Council members here in Santa Paula. I am part from an organization from One Step a la Vez. We currently expanded to Santa Paula, so we're going to be at the Ag Museum. I wanted to come here and just let you guys know about a 2026 congressional candidate forum we're going to have here at the Casa de Mexicano. The direction is 218 S 11th Street in Santa Paula from 6 to 8. February 24th, we invited all the candidates that are running. We invite you, city council members, but also our community, come and ask your questions if you have any concerns and want to know a little bit more about what the candidates, what their role is or what they plan to do at our upcoming elections. I gave some to Julie, she'll hand them out at the end. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
And what time is the event?
6 to 8 p.m.
6 p.m. Thank you so
Hope
much.
to see you guys there.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Michael Nelson, followed by Maria Macias.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm Mike Nelson. I reside at 995 Terracina Street in Santa Paula, and I've been in Santa Paula for 25 years. Last council meeting, 2 weeks ago, there was an agenda item with a proposal by the nonprofit Responsible Energy Council for the Oil Museum. And there was the REC, as it's called, the Responsible Energy Council, had a proposal to pay $18,000 a year to the city in order to rent the portion of the second floor of the Oil Museum at the corner of 10th and Main. And in that space, the REC would be able to curate and manage the museum's petroleum exhibits and the contents of the museum. And this was going to be done entirely at their own expense and cost, which was going to cost in the tens of thousands of dollars per year. But the majority of the city council did not accept their proposal and tabled the motion. I'm saying that the proposal that was made is still the best one that the city has. There is no other entity that can offer the services that the REC is proposing to give to the city for free, along with the rental amount. The REC has the petroleum expertise to actually curate the contents of the museum and catalog them. They've got the petroleum expertise to do that. The exhibits and archives of the museum currently hold thousands of items that were donated, many of them in the 10-year term that I was there. There's many photo collections that were donated, and some of those photo collections from Santa Paula people showed that Santa Paulans were living in the oil fields around Santa Paula, and in particular in South Mountain Oil Field that's across the river. In the early 1900s, many oil companies built homes, schools for their oil field workers and families, so the families could actually live in the oil field. I had a volunteer at the Oil Museum back in the early 90s. His name was Bob Dairies. He was a Santa Paulan, lived here a long time. And I know that people lived there because he was one of the guys as a child in the 1930s who actually lived in the oil field on South Mountain. That's what we need to preserve, Santa Paula's history. It's really important, I think, to many Santa Paulans. 1990, Union Oil Company spent $2.5 million to completely renovate and restore the museum building. And in today's dollars, that's about $6 million. So there's an enormous amount of money spent to preserve the museum and make it what it is today. I think to do justice to that, we have to have professional level curating, cataloging of the collections of the museum.
If you could wind down your comments.
In conclusion, I'm going to say, I'm asking the city to return to the proposal and accept what has been proposed by the Responsible Energy Council for the good of the city and for the good of Santa Paulans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Now we have Maria Macias, followed by Patricia Duarte.
Hello, good afternoon. To the City Council meeting, Mayor Carlos Juarez, Vice Mayor Jenny Crosswhite, and all the council members, Pedro Chavez, Leslie Cornejo, and Gabriela Ornelas. Thanks for the space here. We are so excited to invite all the community of Santa Paula because the non-profit organization, One Step a la Vez, is going to be annex here at the Agriculture Museum of Santa Paula. We will have provide some services for the teens to age 13 to 19 years old. We are a safe, inclusive, and supportive space where youth can grow personally, socially, and emotionally through workshops, educational activities, and community research. We are strengthening their skills, supporting their well-being, and foster youth leadership. Our goal is to support young people during this important stage of their lives and provide tools to help them to grow with confidence, find their voice, and access to opportunities for their future. We invite all the adolescents, families, and community members to be part of this initiative and take one step at a time towards a better together. We'll be there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's an after-school program to help empower local teens with personal and career readiness, track, and opportunities, and a safe space to learn, grow, and develop. So we are so happy to open this November 10th. So our community is invited. You guys are invited to know how we will work, and we are sure we are a good, una buena oportunidad para nuestros adolescentes para que crezcan empoderados, siendo líderes y con mucho cuidado en un lugar seguro. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And did you leave the date? Okay, got it. Thank you very much. Okay, that was Maria Macias. Now we have Patricia Duarte, followed by Julia Ancona.
Hello. I'm here to speak about a pattern of broken commitments, inequitable access, and financial consequences tied to the harvest development and related city decisions. First, I want to ground this in what the voters were promised. In 2008, Santa Paula voters approved Measure G with 83% support. The East Area 1 project, often called the Harvest, was presented as a master-planned, mixed-use community, not simply a housing expansion. The approved plan included up to 1,500 homes alongside approximately 240,000 square feet of commercial, office, light industrial, assisted living, and civic uses. It also promised new schools, a sports park, walkability, and significant water and utility infrastructure, including new wells. What voters approved was a balanced, sustainable community with housings, jobs, services, and amenities integrated together. What residents are seeing now is very different. Instead of the promised mixed-use development and civic district, we're now seeing proposals for another 500-plus homes with no comparable commercial space, no new schools, and no clear delivery of the community amenities that were used to justify that project in the first place. If schools were part of the approved plan but aren't there, where are students supposed to go? If new water wells are required, have they been drilled? And how do they fit into a system that currently relies on existing tanks? This isn't a minor adjustment. It's a fundamental shift away from what voters approved. Second, I want to address access and equity. The city has repeatedly failed to deliver key public amenities in a way that is truly public. Facilities were promised as community benefits, but in practice, they primarily serve Harvest residents or those with private transportation. For example, a public swimming pool was promised. What exists instead is a small HOA-controlled pool that excludes the broader community. The city built a 37-acre public park in the Harvest area with 6 soccer fields, 3 basketball courts, and a softball field capable of serving hundreds of people. About $1 million was spent on lighting alone, yet the park only has 4 toilet stalls. That is inadequate, unsanitary, and a public health concern. It discourages full use of the park and disproportionately affects residents who do not live in the Harvest development and cannot easily go home when facilities are insufficient. Public transportation to Harvest Park is non-existent. Residents without private vehicles are effectively shut out of a taxpayer-funded public resource. Access to amenities should not depend on where you live or whether you own a car. I'm just about out of time. Can anybody?
I'm next, Julianne Conish, you have my time.
Thank you.
Can you please turn in your speaker card so we just get your name? So you're going to cede your time to her?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Go ahead, continue.
Thank you. I also want to correct the record on one point. A bridge connection was not explicitly promised, and I acknowledge that error. However, the larger issue of connectivity remains. Instead of improving access and integration, new housing is being built in ways that further limit connectivity and reinforce separation. Taken together, these decisions create a two-tier system, one where access to public amenities depends on geography and income. That undermines fairness, community cohesion, and public trust. Third, I want to address where the city's money has actually been going. Based on city finance records and insurance budgets, a major driver of our budget strain since 2022 has been sharply rising insurance costs tied to lawsuits involving the former police chief. Until those cases settle, they remain on the city's insurance risk profile and continue to drive premiums higher. From 2018 to 2021, the city's insurance costs were relatively stable, averaging around $600,000 to $700,000 per year. Beginning in 2022, those costs increased significantly, approximately $777,000 in 2022, $899,000 in 23 to 24, $1 million in 24 to 25, $1.2 million in 25 to 26, and about $1 million in 26 to 27. Compared to prior years, that represents an estimated loss of $800,000 to $1.5 million in available budget capacity between 2022 and 2027, with impacts likely continuing beyond that timeframe. The city's finance department flagged this risk as early as 2022. The numbers now clearly reflect it. Measure R was not a meaningful expansion of funding for new services. It was largely a way to compensate for lost capacity caused by foreseeable insurance costs tied to earlier decisions. So when residents are told there's no money for pools, transit, restrooms, school, or promised infrastructure, it's important to be honest about why. In closing, this is not about one project or one mistake. It's a pattern. Voter-approved plans being diluted, public amenities becoming functionally private, access being limited, and financial consequences being passed on to residents without transparency or accountability. Voters approved a balanced, integrated community. What they're getting is more housing, fewer services, inequitable access, and long-term financial strain. The data is clear, the impacts are real, and residents deserve answers, accountability, and course correction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duarte. Okay, if we can have Julia Ancona, followed by Edgar. Is it now?
Julia gave her time.
What's that? Oh, okay. There you go. Edgar Aguilera, and then we followed by Judy Rice. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time. I am so grateful to be here in Santa Paula. I have been here for the last 17 years doing business, and it has been a really good experience. I am here today on behalf of my wife. She owns a water store here in town. I'm not sure if this is the right place, but many of our customers, they have to carry their water jugs. 5 gallons of water is very, very, very heavy, especially for like everybody, but especially for seniors. I have been asking the city if please I could have like 15 minutes parking lot in front of the water store, because some people, they have to cross the street carrying sometimes 2 water 5-gallon water. That's really dangerous for them, and it's really concerning because water is very heavy. So I have been knocking doors. If I could have like 2 15-minute parking space in front of the water store. Some people, especially Fridays, Saturdays, they go to the corner to dance, which they deserve to go and have fun, but they take like 4 hours to come back. And the people who go, sometimes there's ladies that they go and they have to carry the water to their cars, and they have to walk at least 100 yards, 200 yards. And this is something that I'm just asking if we could have the conversation. Another topic is that 6 months ago, I received a visit from the inspector of the water, and he checked our water meter. We have to pay water, of course, because that's our business to purify the water. In his words, he told me that the water meter was broken and it was giving readings all over the place. He said he was going to replace the water meter. I have been paying every month X amount of money for water, but I turned off one of my water machines and I was expecting to spend less water, but this month was like triple what I have to pay. So I'm asking if I could have the water inspector put my water meter, since he told me it was broken. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilera. Could we, I think you know where I'm going with this.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't catch the speaker's name.
His name is Edgar Aguilera.
Mr. Aguilera, over in the corner, our Public Works Director can give you information about the request for the parking. We have a traffic safety committee that reviews requests and can consider that. They have a process. So.
He also had a question about his water meter.
And maybe he can talk to you about the water meter too, or our finance director.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say that I went to a Business Connect meeting this week, and that was one of the comments made is limited parking in front of like a store that sells food. So I actually filled out the form to see if they can look at that ordinance citywide. So we'll see. It might take a while, but it has to go through our traffic safety committee. So now we have Judy Rice.
Council, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, and Julie. Nice to see all of you. I'm back again to complain about the same old thing I've complained about since 2018. I'm old, so you have to be patient, but I'm going to indulge the audience tonight, so I want you all to listen and understand. Back in 2018, I think the city signed the worst financial agreement they've ever made, and that was the contract with the county fire department. And I know they do a good job, but their costs are exorbitant. And when that happened, I was sitting in Julie's chair, and Jenny Crosswhite was the only council member that voted no. I think, honestly, she was the only council member that actually read the contract, or they would have all voted no. Now, I'm going to indulge, cameraman, put it on the whole audience. How many of you?
You can still speak into the speaker.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I can talk loud enough. Anyway, okay, audience, how many of you actually know, raise your hand, that out of each dollar that property tax takes in, the county takes 80 cents. We get 20 cents. Do you know that? That's pathetic. Truly pathetic that nobody knows what we're paying for. That's why this city is so poor, as we keep referring to it. I'm going to request, not now, but I could ask for it to be on the agenda and it would never happen. I would like for one of you council members to actually make a motion tonight, tomorrow, whenever you want to, and it'll require a second, to put it on the agenda for the finance director here, and she can do this easily. You have to know, in order to set your budget, how much revenue comes in from property tax. Don't include the sales tax, just the property tax. And then I know that all the money we take in goes to Sacramento. They take part of it, and then the county gets it back, and they divvy out whatever portion we get. But I think we can calculate it on our own if we can find out the actual amount that comes in from property tax. And one of the, I think it was Janet Duarte, said 1,500 new homes. I mean, look how we've increased the size of the city. So that means our taxes have got to be incredible. We'd have a lot of money if we weren't giving 80% of it away. Anyway, I'd like to get that information, bring it back, put it on the agenda, and I would appreciate that so we can know exactly what we're paying, and I want to know what is the county charging us for fire services. Now, I want you all to keep that in mind, because the last thing I'm going to say is the quality of a person is how you honor your responsibilities. Thank you very much. Boy, I did that in 3 minutes.
Thank you, Judy Rice. My apologies. Now we have Chris Gabriel, and then he's our final speaker unless somebody else wants to turn in a speaker card.
Good evening, guys. My name is Chris Gabriel, Associate Organizing Director over at the community organizing group Cause. And you know how much I love Santa Paula. I guess I just appreciate people who always are trying to achieve good government. And even though I love these meetings, I unfortunately can't stay the whole time. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents about Amendment C, the resolution for immigration. I wanted to say thank you, and I'm excited to hear that the city is making the resolution to state the obvious, that we condemn unfair and discriminatory immigration enforcement practices and affirm the city's commitment to the safety, dignity, and right of all residents. We live in a world where we must often come out and state the obvious. We live in a world where we must raise our voice a bit to speak plainly and honestly. We do this not to insult, but rather to remind one another that common sense is much less common than you would think. Irrespective of your political persuasions, proud Santa Paula residents and key stakeholders should always hold themselves to the highest standard of decency and ensure that democracy's promise is kept for all those that reside within our special city. I encourage you all tonight to put forward and recommend that this item go on a future agenda. Thank you all for your time. Have a lovely evening, and as always, God bless Santa Paula.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Okay, that's the end of our speaker cards unless somebody else wants to submit one. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 7, presentations, wayfinding presentation. Is that going to be, is that, hold on. Oh, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Sammy Tapia. I'm one of the ACC Fellows serving the City of Santa Paula and the Chamber. So today, the ask is for Council to file and receive a report on wayfinding and the new brand kit. And the content for tonight is background, brand kit, applications and components, budget, estimates and recommendation, and implementation. So this project was developed in collaboration with Hunt Group Design following their established design process. The inspiration for the landmark banner designs and overall visual system comes directly from Santa Paula itself. Key influences include our craftsman architecture, the railroad, stained glass elements, agriculture, and the city's rich historical and cultural identity. Here is the brand kit, And as you can see, there's a consistent color palette and iconography used throughout. The colors include 2 shades of green, yellow, orange, beige, and white. You can also see logos, including our seal, icons, and fonts being Brummery, Cosette, and Glacial Indifference. Here are examples of how the brand can be applied through digital updates, small printed materials, on-site branding, and vehicle and equipment branding. These images are meant to illustrate possibilities, but it's important to note that applications are not limited to what is shown here. Here are more examples of identity branding, on-site, on-street wayfinding, citywide signage, and landmark gateway. Same as the last, these are images and visual references, but the possibilities are not limited. This slide outlines the budget estimates and recommendations. $10K was allocated for banners, which is now exhausted, and you can see the banners on Main Street from 7th to 11th. $150K is allocated towards wayfinding. Thank you, Council. And the cost estimates there are estimates sourced from various sites and are not Santa Paula specific. $10K for digital updates, $30K for small printed materials, another $30K for on-site equipment branding, $150,000 to $500,000 for street wayfinding, $200,000 to $500,000 for citywide signage, and $200,000 to $1 million for landmark and gateway features. Here are recommendations from Hunt Design Group, which includes various sign types, quantities, and estimated costs. The total include $127K for parking signage and $173K for wayfinding signage. So again, $10K is allocated for banners, which you can see on Main Street, and the $150K will be divided into 4 areas: $120 towards signage, $10K towards murals and monument tiles, another $10 for small printed materials, and the last $10 towards equipment branding, decals, and city promotional items. So again, the ask is for council to file and receive a report on wayfinding and support its implementation. And thank you.
Well, Sammy Tapia, thank you for that presentation. Questions or comments from council? Councilmember Chavez?
Can you share a little bit about the strategy for phasing in some of these branding items?
Absolutely. As Ms. Tapia has indicated, the banners are already up around downtown. And we didn't want to get ahead of the council presentation and kind of the unveiling of this new imagery. But the Public Works Department is prepared to begin looking into well, they've already estimated the sign costs, but primarily doing signage around our downtown, the parking lot signs, the directional signs, that kind of thing. So the hope would be that most of that $150,000 will actually get exhausted this calendar year as we strive to start to roll stuff out.
And are we timing things and coordinating? For instance, it's nice to have a beautiful sign for a parking lot, but the parking lot sucks. So is pavement going to be prioritized and then the signage comes second?
You want to talk a little bit about some of the parking lot efforts underway?
So it's been a little while, but I kind of started putting in my architecture degree, not that I have a license or anything, but to design what the parking lots could possibly look like.
This item's not on tonight's agenda, so if we can stick to signs alone, appreciate that.
Sure. I think, but to Councilmember Chavez's point, we're not going to do things in a vacuum. We'll do it kind of intentionally as we roll things forward.
Good.
Thanks. I was just going to bring up or mention that I think when this was already preliminarily agreed upon by council as far as design and all of that, that when we ordered all the new trash cans downtown, they fit that style and font. So they were already, not only with the banners, but other things that we're doing at each stage, implementing that wherever we can. So just want to mention.
Good.
I just want to say that I like the design. Who came up with it, or how did you get to this style?
So let me just go back to the brand kit. Majority of what you see here was from Hunt Design. So all I did was compose the logo to what it looks like now and took colors from their banner designs.
They were hired by us after an RFP process to do a whole wayfinding study for the city that was done under Community Development Department. And they came up with a couple of different recommendations that the council narrowed it down to essentially stick with this craftsman-esque kind of look and design a little more celebratory of our heritage, I think.
Actually, Vice Mayor, we're next.
So one, just as we move forward, I would just watch that city of doesn't turn out to be too small or maybe not bold enough, because I know I'd already noticed one application of it online where you almost can't read it.
Gets lost.
So I think that would just be something for us to watch, is whether or not that needs to end up being a little bolder or something, as just so that, I mean, I know the emphasis is on Santa Paula, but I don't think we want the city of Part to totally drop off either, which I know is sort of a small aside, but just something to keep an eye on. And then in terms of the wayfinding, I know that we've sort of talked about signs, but if someone could just clarify for those who are sitting here, if they're going, I don't know what wayfinding is, could we clarify what the term wayfinding refers to?
I'm looking at Mr. Mason because he can probably roll that off his tongue easier than I can. It's a fancy way of talking about signage and getting people from one destination to another through signage. It can also be app-based. It doesn't just have to be physical signs. So it's a way of communicating. And I don't know, Mr. Mason, if you want to add to that.
I think you captured it pretty well. As our deputy city managers just told me, directional signage, being able to, as people in and from outside of town are able to find their way around to destinations and activities and places of interest.
Thank you. And then just my last comment is, as we start to order things and expend funding, I feel like the signage, I mean, yes, we need to make sure that our car branding and some of those things is also done. And the more that we can put towards, making sure that people know where the parking lots are and where the, major attractions and things are, I think the more that we can put towards that part of the effort, the better, knowing that, yes, there's some other things, there's some things that we definitely have to do, but if there's extra funding in some of those other general pots that were listed here, I think the more that we can put towards signage, the better.
And maybe just to that comment, to bring up for the public's benefit too, the $150,000 that the city council was able to set aside, which was from funds from last fiscal year that were in excess of our expenditures, is just a small part of what it will really take to do the entire town. So, yeah, we'll try and maximize that, because it won't, even the 120 or 150,000 won't cover all of our signage needs, especially because what's being designed often will involve new posts, new poles, going from kind of the round green metal ones to maybe that wrought iron look. Maybe you can flip forward to those. And there's going to be an expense involved, like that one that says Santa Paula on it. And, yeah. In some cases where we can use a street sign or a light post or an existing pole, we will. But, you don't want to take a round green pole if you really want to have a consistent look of something that's square and wrought iron and matches the sign. So it's not going to be a cheap undertaking.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cornell?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address Councilmember Ornelas' question about the process of how we got here, for your benefit and for the public's benefit, and for Ms. Tapia, who wasn't here yet also. It's been a several-year-long project for community economic development, worked very hard. A lot of things were vetted through the PBID, the downtown district. And so they did a lot of the vetting and kind of a sounding board for what they wanted for drawing people to the center of our city. And so RFPs, discussions really at length over this, a lot of presentations before it came to council, and then got approval to move forward with roughly these designs. So it's been actually quite the process. It's wonderful to see it at this level. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Ms. Tapia, thank you much for that presentation and the work of all staff. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing the rest of the progress. Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, that's just a receive and file. Nothing else to do. City council reports. Let's go ahead and start, if you wouldn't mind, with Ms. Ornelas.
Okay, so I remember two things. We had immigration ad hoc committee meeting with our new deputy city manager and, remind me the name? Gloria, to go over the wording of policy changes that we're making around immigration. Vice Mayor Crosswhite could probably talk more to it, but we just went over the wording and making sure that we covered all of the important pieces of the process that we're trying to cover to honor everything that we've received from community members and different groups that we've met with and gotten to speak with, or that on our own we get information and shared stories from. So that was one thing, and today I was able to be a part of a civic tour where students from around the county got to go all over Ventura County to meet leaders. We started at the Ventura County Office of Education, where the superintendent of schools, Dr. Cesar Morales, spoke to students. Also, the chancellor, I'm going to forget his name. He also spoke to students. Then we went to Thousand Oaks City Hall, and then Cal Lutheran, then we were at Fillmore City Hall and ended here in Palacio, and then they went over to Oxnard College. It was just amazing to see all of these young people engaged and wanting to know what their community offered as far as engagement and them being able to become part of making changes to policy that affect them, and how they could bring more resources to themselves and their peers in the areas that they live. Councilmember Chavez was there today at Palacio during lunch, and he spoke to the students about community engagement and how important it is. So that was awesome to have. Students is something that I think I'll always be passionate about, and encouraging them. As I sit here on council and before I was on the school board, I just wanted to share with community that our students are doing really cool things around the county, and today I got to be a part of something that I didn't even know we did. This is the second time it happens. So any youth that are here or listening, just get as involved as you can, ask the questions, join our committees. You're the ones that are going to be here after we are, and like I heard a student say today, they were concerned about if they were even going to be heard, and I said, well, I'm not always going to be mobile and able. So what I try to do in my job is to make sure that whatever policies I'm part of putting in place or making changes to are things that are going to be beneficial to me even when I'm not mobile and able, and they're the ones that are sitting in these seats. So I'm just really proud of the students that I got to be around today, and I'm happy to be up here and to continue to inspire them in whatever way we can. That's all. I'm sure I forgot something, but thank you.
Well, thank you for representing the city as well as Councilmember Chavez. And I think I saw you Friday in Camarillo, you and Councilmember Chavez. With Congresswoman Brownlee?
I told you. Yes, I also attended a press conference where Councilmember Brownlee and other community leaders spoke on the ICE detention center that's there on Cortez Circle, which happens to be 2 corners from the County Office of Education where I work. When I take a walk, I always go by that facility. And we didn't even realize it was that close to us until there was so much ICE activity in the county. But it was great to see how many of us were able to show up. I was fortunate enough that it was close to work where I was able to just walk over there. But I'm grateful for those that showed up and spoke, and for all of us that just stood in support, and the work that needs to be done, that we've been a part of, that we've been fortunate enough to be a part of. We'll continue to do it and continue to speak for those who can't, and try to live by example, not just in, like, I'm an overly emotional person, but in doing it in my actions and in living up to what I believe is right for those that can't speak and those that don't feel comfortable enough to, but to continue to support our community and those that need it the most.
Thank you, Councilmember Ornelas. And Councilmember Chavez, I know you usually give your written report, but if there's anything time-sensitive or of importance to the community, especially, I saw you over there with Congresswoman Brownlee as well.
Yes, I stood alongside you and the Councilmember Ornelas at the press conference by Congresswoman Julia Brownlee. I most recently attended a league conference. I'm serving on the Community Services Committee, and there was a really detailed explanation that was extremely clear about the impact of H.R. 1, which is a federal law that passed, and the trickle-down effect that it's going to have on local communities. And so, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to provide you with the information regarding the nonpartisan group that provided that detailed information, because I think it's worth the community understanding what's going to happen when some of these things go into effect. A bulk majority of these changes happen in late 26 and 27. And so it's going to have a significant impact. And as we're looking at the impact of what the hospital closure means for this community, not people losing health insurance, and what that's going to do to our community's well-being is something that I believe everyone should know about, and we can use this platform as an opportunity to share that information so people are aware of what's happening and how this is going to impact them.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Councilmember Cornejo?
Thank you, Mayor. Just not exactly city-related, but on the 22nd of January, I did take an online course, which is on Bagley-Keene, which is the state version of the Brown Act. It never hurts to review all of those rules to make sure that we're watching our P's and Q's. On the 26th, I attended the special council meeting, the closed session on the city manager evaluation. On the 29th, I attended a meeting that was called at the Limoneira and attended as well with Mayor Juarez to discuss possibilities, strategies, and update on information for healthcare in the Valley in general. It was also in preparation for a Blue Ribbon meeting, of which the mayor and I are both the members on Blue Ribbon, that did meet at the hospital, which we attended that evening as well. And it was made clear that evening that the Board of Supervisors does not intend to extend the use of the hospital on the Hill beyond 2030. The earthquake retrofit, the oversizing of the number of beds there, and access issues, they state makes it cost prohibitive, so we are looking for other alternatives, and really in an urgent manner. So we are working very hard on advocacy for that and making sure that we're attending every meeting we can and speaking to any influencer or office holder that we can to make sure that we maintain the good or better improved health care in our valley. On the 31st, I attended the chamber ribbon cutting of Wild Hair Pilates, and I welcomed them on behalf of the city council and the city at large, and then I became a member, so I'm already sore, but I'm loving it. So trying to support the local new business. And on the 2nd, just had a catch-up, long overdue coffee with Councilmember Chavez. Have another couple of other council members that we just kind of have a tradition once in a while to just check in with each other, not necessarily on policy. We're very careful about the topics we discuss so that we don't create any issues, but just to make sure that we stay in touch. So that would be my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cornell. Vice Mayor Crosswhite.
All right. A couple of SCAG-related announcements. I had 3 meetings, but the most important things are that on Monday, February 9th, is when the registration for the annual conference will officially open. I chair, as second vice president, I chair the General Assembly Host Committee meeting, so we've been busy getting ready for that. It's also the time of year that I think after our meeting tomorrow, because we have our regular meeting tomorrow, they will be releasing the information about the 2026 scholarship opportunity. And we did have one of our high schoolers at Santa Paula High School who received the scholarship last year. So I do hope that we will have more folks that apply again this year. Priority is given to students who express an interest in community planning, regional planning, urban planning, civil engineering, political science, public administration, sustainable development, or related fields. So if you know anyone who's interested, I believe it's both high school and if you're at community college, I believe. But the details on that get released officially tomorrow evening. And then the deadline for that scholarship is March 20th. At my California Council of Governments meeting, we had an update on some legislation issues that'll be coming forward. And so as those get bill numbers, I'll bring you back more information. But in general, they're working on trying to, the REAP 1.0 program, which we benefited from the planning dollars. They're working on trying to get someone to carry a bill that would actually put that planning money into state law. So if that ends up going forward, I'll let you know, because the official deadline is February 20th, so the bills are still being introduced. There's also someone working on cleanup language for last year's SB 79, which has mandatory upzoning in certain transit zones. There's a number of communities in California that have concerns about that bill, and so there is someone who's trying to bring some cleanup legislation. And then the SB 375 reform, there will likely be a bill on that as well, and so I'll keep you updated as that moves forward. Like Councilmember Ornelas said, we did have an Immigration Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and we will, is it next meeting? At the next meeting, there will be, the plan is to have the legislative platform suggestions. We reviewed legislative language from other cities and the County of Ventura, and we'll be bringing forward some recommendations for the legislative platform. At my Heritage Valley Policy Advisory Committee meeting, we learned that VCTC, on behalf of the Valley Express, received a $1.16 million congestion mitigation air quality, otherwise known as CMAQ, grant for the expansion of the Valley Express service for over a 3-year period. Those changes will be implemented starting probably in the 27-28 fiscal year. And so it's going to be really important that the community engages with VCTC. If you have a group and you're interested, please let me know so I can get you connected with VCTC, because we want to make sure that as the expansion rolls out, that the bus stops are in places where people are actually going to use them. So again, we really need to make sure that over the next few months, we have a lot of community engagement around that. They have a draft plan that they had consultants put together around what that might look like, but we really need public to look at it and say, yes, that looks good, or no, it doesn't. And these are the reasons why we think there needs to be changes. Like right now, it doesn't anticipate that there's going to be a bridge by 2027. You're right. And so I had mentioned to them, does that change the calculation of where the routes should be once the bridge goes in? And so they need feedback like that only our community can give them. And so it'll be really important that we all engage in that rollout process. Let's see. We also voted that there will be a reduced fare for veterans on the Valley Express service. And so right now, you have to apply for that specifically But as the Tap to Ride is getting rolled out, hopefully by April, May, you'll actually be able to register your card. And then if you're a veteran or if you have ADA or senior, those are all the categories that get reduced fares. You'll be able to register your credit card, and then you'll be able to just tap to ride, and it'll automatically apply the discounted rate. Right now, if you tap to ride, you have to pay out the regular rate. And so that rollout is expected April or May, but I'll keep you updated as that happens. But did want you to know that they're going to be moving forward with the discounted rates for veterans. And then just on that short-range transit plan, which will include the expansion of the Santa Paula, or the Heritage Valley, so Santa Paula and Fillmore service, the draft plan will be going to VCTC on Friday, but again, that's just the draft form, and so we really do need to engage on those routes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, at the conclusion of this meeting, I'd like to close the meeting in memory of one of our city employees who recently passed away after a courageous battle with cancer. That's Joseph Paul Byram. He was a supervisor in our Public Works Department. So again, at the end of the evening, we'll close in his memory. On the 22nd, I met with Dr. Mears, our new deputy
City manager.
City manager, thank you, and staff regarding the upcoming State of the City, and I think the date that they've think that might occur is June 11th, so we'll be looking for more information on that. I attended the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting this last week. There was a reorganization. Vanessa Olmos remains chair. Chris Anez is vice chair. They did have the honor of recognizing a employee from the Parks and Rec Department. They awarded the 2025 Mel Howery Shining Star Award, which they give away every year, and this year they awarded it to Martin Montelongo, who's a lead maintenance worker, and he's been with the city for 13 years. And I did suggest and recommend to Director Barnes that we should bring him here and recognize him in front of the city, because that wasn't publicized, and that's worthy of it, because his family was there as well. They also took a presentation from Marcus Erickson from Leap Lab to discuss the 4th of July and the Dog Park Ad Hoc meeting. I had the honor of attending, as each mayor does each year, with the City Selection Committee, which occurred on Friday the 23rd, where the mayors of the city meet in a location and select some of the people that are going to be on committees. And the only two things that were on the agenda was voting for who's going to be seated on LAFCO, Local Area Formation Commission, and that was Bert Perello from Oxnard. And then the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, there was two people that were elected, and this was actually within the people within their district. And the regular seat was elected was Tony Tremblay from Camarillo, and the alternate was Bert Perello from Oxnard. I also attended the city special meeting on the evaluation of the city manager, and I also attended with Councilmember Cornejo the meeting at Limonera, which I think she's already explained a little bit about the challenges we're facing with the hospital. And later that night, there was a meeting at the hospital with the Blue Ribbon Committee meeting. On the 30th, one of the things I mentioned earlier was that I attended my first Business Connect, where our city, James Mason, and the interim director of the chamber meets with businesses to find out how the city can best serve them and work with them. And that's where a suggestion was made about limited parking in front of businesses that require somebody to run and grab something, such as the gentleman or that mentioned about the lady, because water, I think, weighs 8 pounds a gallon. So if you're counting 5 gallons, that's 45 pounds somebody had to huff to their car. So anyway, something for consideration to the committee on that. And then, as mentioned earlier by Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Ornelas, we attended what was known as Protect Our Communities, and this was a speech given by Congresswoman Brownlee. And I want to thank Councilmember Ornelas for, again, attending the education on community engagement. I spent the last 3 days doing my civic duty. I was sitting in jury selection for 3 days, and I came really close to almost being interviewed, but that's as far as I got. So that's my report. So thank you, and we go now to our city manager's reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your recognition of Joe Byram and adjourning tonight in his honor. He was a an outstanding city employee and a community member, and he's been deeply missed by our associates and friends in and outside of the city. It's been a tough couple of weeks for all of us, especially in Public Works, as we sort through that loss. But it's also been a busy couple of weeks, and I too was at over 4 hours worth of discussions about a future hospital or medical services, both on the Blue Ribbon Task Force, as well as a convened meeting of community members and leaders that many of you were at. And like Councilmember Chavez had an opportunity to go up to Sacramento for the day to serve on the League's policy committee. I serve on the Revenue and Taxation Committee. And it's fair to say that there was lively discussion, especially as it relates to distribution of sales tax and, of course, the governor's proposed budget, which represents, I think, a $13 to $18 billion deficit, and what that means as a trickle down to our communities. So more to come on that, but that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singer. We now move on to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a couple questions for
Of
the
course,
city
go ahead,
manager,
Councilman.
just briefly. Can you just provide us a status on the animal shelter contract, where we're at with that? What's the forecast?
Yeah, so for the public's benefit, back in February, the relationship we had with the Santa Paula Rescue Center, Spark, ended. They were no longer interested in serving us, and so they closed their doors to the city. We still have our full-time animal control officer, and we immediately, upon their 30 days' notice, began talking both with the county animal control services as well as with the Humane Society, which is located, they have a facility up in Ojai. The Humane Society willingly began serving us in March of this last year, and we have been on essentially a month-to-month relationship with them because despite good faith negotiations around a service agreement moving forward, they are going through some kind of restructuring and revisioning and are reluctant to commit long-term to us. So while they have continued to take animals and they're very excited about coming and doing services in our community, we don't yet have a formal agreement with them. I will point out, though, that in March, they're coming down here with their mobile clinic. I think the chief's here to do spay and neuter services and maybe vaccinations. And I believe those would be free of charge or on a donation basis to our community. They also help with animal food insecurities and other education for families, licensing. So we're really trying to work with them on doing some of that outreach here in town. So I don't know that we'll be bringing back a formal agreement to you. The chief and I are exploring what other options we have available.
However, you're still working with the shelter?
Yes.
Case-by-case basis? Is that how we're
Correct.
managing the relationship?
That's correct. And our animal control officer is still serving our community, I'd say 7 days a week because our police department does that, but, primarily he's here 5 days a week. We have kennels. He will take an animal that's been injured and get them to veterinary care. He has worked to place animals in other shelters when needed, or as much as possible for adoption type services. But the Humane Society has been kind of our fallback shelter. And we've probably averaged maybe 3 to 4 dogs there a month, I would say. Our animal control officer has had very good success reuniting animals with their owners. And most of that's been done, I think, through social media, but also his outreach by walking neighborhoods, who does this puppy belong to and stuff. And, this is a small community, so he's been able, with at least about 50% of the time, able to reunite animals with their owners, even if they're not licensed or chipped.
Right.
Obviously, if they are licensed or chipped, it makes it a lot easier. So thank you
Thanks
for
that.
asking.
And then just a couple questions that are kind of interconnected. I've had several members of the community reach out to me regarding, accidents that happen in the community, near misses. And their concern has been, is there any mitigation that could take place in terms of the city putting some sort of speed bump in certain communities? And for the public's sake, what would be the process that a member of the community has a concern? And I know we've had someone from the public come to our council meeting before regarding 8th Street, for instance. And so what is the recommendation for residents who would like to provide input regarding specific intersections or streets that they continuously have traffic or collision issues?
Yeah. So we have a traffic safety committee. They meet every other month. It involves a member of the fire department, police department, obviously our streets division, our public works department, our engineer, and anyone else. They're open to the public. Most significantly, that committee reviews requests for traffic calming, stop signs, parking configurations, road condition, speeds, things like that. And we have specifically an application if a resident is interested in having speed bumps, speed humps put in their neighborhood. There's a specific process. That's all on our website, and they can get access to it. If they're interested in coming before the Traffic Safety Committee, easiest thing I think is probably to send an email to our Public Works staff. And
It's like the report a pothole, they can send the communication through that portal?
yeah, I mean, email's best to, I think we have a generic, don't we? And do you recall that address? Yeah. we can.
And even if we don't have it now, if you can get that information out to the residents through our social media
Yeah.
and our website so that they know that this is where you go, where we can report those incidents. I've been having people send me pictures of accidents that are taking place, and I think we need to take a look at that. And I've been in particular vested in this issue because I know when I first came to city council, we were looking at Bedell, and because the street's so messed up, they can't fix the speed hump. And then I discovered the policy regarding speed humps and how you have to have signatures and everything else. However, I did share this with the Public Works Director, that there's new technologies, new tools that can do the same thing essentially. Instead of spending a lot of money on a speed hump, per se, there's strips. And so they cost about $160 for strips that you can put.
Yep.
So the car still vibrates and it kind of sends a message to pay attention to speed limit and obviously avoid distraction. So I think if we can look at that so that residents feel more at ease, that instead of going the traditional route, which is much more expensive, that we can do something to alleviate some of those concerns.
And we can also advertise some of that process on our next newsletter.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Would that process that you just mentioned also be for speed humps that existed before their street was repaved and now has not been put back? Would that be the same process?
No, they should.
It would still go to the Traffic Safety Committee if needed, if it's just a matter of a speed hump that's needing repairs, or if one was removed.
Yeah.
Having that brought to our attention so that when we're paving the street, it can be reconsidered.
Would a person send it to this same address that we're talking about now? The same email address, or would that be something different?
Yeah, I think,
Would it be the same?
Mr. Goodman, I don't know if you want to come to the podium, but what the best technique is to get a hold of your staff for traffic safety related.
I'm just wondering if it's different for something that existed before, that a speed hump specifically, if it was there and then after the street got repaved, it wasn't put back. What are the same process that Councilmember Chavez just brought up for concerns about car accidents or things like that, where they would want one that would be a new speed hump? Would it be the same process for both requests?
I don't believe it is. It's my understanding, and probably the higher authority is the city engineer.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that if the hump is there, it's supposed to still be there after the road is rebuilt. Good. He's going to stop me before I say something wrong.
I'm just asking because I had asked about that before for one specific block where I used to live, and it was there, and it was very helpful because of how fast the cars would go up the street after the stop sign down the street. And then we got a really nice repaved street, but then the speed hump wasn't put back.
Right.
So just for the public to understand if that's happened on another street, and for myself also, I'd just like to know, since the topic came up, if it's a different process and what that is, so if someone wants to inquire about it, they can.
The city's policy is to always put back existing speed humps whenever we're doing a paving project. If anyone is aware of a speed hump that was not put back, please let us know, and we'll direct our pavers to replace that.
And how would
There's
we
no
do
process
that?
involved.
How would someone do that?
I'd just get a hold of either myself, city engineer, or the director, Dale Goodman.
Okay.
We have our paving contractors that are currently working, so we can put them back fairly quickly.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And they're called rumble strips.
Rumble strips?
Rumble
Yeah.
strips.
They're not terribly popular with the neighbors that are adjacent to them because
They
they
hear them, I'm
make
sure.
a lot of noise. But they are a technique that can be
They're a
considered.
technique that's cost effective.
Yeah.
And if we can save lives and avoid accidents,
They're pretty loud.
then they're worth it.
When this has come up before about the speed humps, my understanding is that if a neighborhood wants it, they have to poll their neighborhood, and it's got to be a certain percentage of people that want it, because they're the ones that are going to pay for it. So it's a good question you asked, that if the city comes and paves the street, and the neighbors paid for that speed hump, then the city should put it back. That's my understanding.
Or if there's something that we deemed was an important traffic calming technique, we would expect to replace it, which is, I think, what the city engineer is
Okay.
indicating.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
for
Thank you.
Your latitude on addressing these issues.
Sure. Okay, we move on now to, is that the rest, any of your final questions for the city manager? Anybody else have any more questions? Okay, we move on now to the consent calendars. We have items 10A, Adam, through 10D. David, is there an item that any council member would like to pull?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to pull an item, however, I'm going to pull item 10D.
You want to pull item 10D? Okay.
And
'Cause I just had-
10C, I'd like to, for the record, recuse myself regarding the issue because of a property owner in Harvest. I don't want any perceived conflict of interest.
10C.
10C.
Okay, and you're going to pull item 10D?
I don't have to
D,
leave.
David?
And I'll pull 10D.
Okay. All right, yeah, I was going to ask a question, but since you're pulling 10D, okay, so Councilmember Chavez is going to recuse or abstain from the vote on 10C.
And I just had one question that I don't need to pull.
Sure. On which item?
I had a comment on D, but we're pulling it. So
Okay.
I just wanted to ask is Ms. Ramirez here tomorrow? Oh, yes. Do you happen to know, Ms. Ramirez, on the Chandler contract, sort of in order of magnitude, I know that our revenues have covered the cost of their services, but do you have a sense of like, is it $10,000? Is it tens of thousands of dollars? Is it, like, how much this contract has benefited us so far?
Sure. So the number seems big, 244,000, but the note to make is that that's over the course of the start of the contract, which was in 2021 through 2029. So you're really looking at about $30,000 per year. I'll start with a smaller number. For general fund, we used to receive about $20,000 in interest when our money was just in LAIF. We're now receiving at least $80,000, so it more than covers it. But that's just for general fund. The water fund, for example, went from $200,000 in interest to $600,000 in interest. We have significantly increased our yield, much more in the beginning because LAIF has started to it was starting to catch up. It has now dipped again below our yield. That was the reason why we included the PowerPoint presentation from Chandler that we normally get to see, and included one slide that was the LAIF versus Chandler yield, so you can see just on a graph basis how much higher we're getting. So yes, they have proven their worth time and time again.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And a point of clarification.
Go ahead.
Real quick regarding the property itself. If I'm not mistaken, isn't a portion of it part of the Harding Trust?
I think so.
14, I'm sorry, 10A?
But I can answer that question
Yeah,
if you'd
I know
like as
you-
well.
you have the answer.
Yes, CEMEX, the CEMEX property is also related to Harding Park, and that revenue goes to Harding Park Fund.
It stays within the trust.
Yes.
Great.
Good question, thank you. Okay, so any other questions on item, consent calendar items 10A through 10C?
So I would move approval of items 10A through 10C.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Mayor Crosswhite to approve the consent calendar items 10A through 10C, seconded by Councilmember Cornejo, and then Councilmember Chavez will abstain from the vote on 10C. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passes, and of course, Councilmember Chavez abstained. We're now going to pull item 10D, which is plans and specifications for Park and Orchard Street Water, Sewer, and Pavement Project. Councilmember Chavez, would you like Director Goodman to speak on it, or do you have a specific question?
Actually, I would like to acknowledge both the director and the engineer, Mr. Bob Woodward, because this is a painful situation. I'm not going to go quietly into the night and just have it slide in there without making a fuss about it. If you've ever been to Park in Orchard, or if you live in those areas, it's a landmine. Literally, it is a landmine. And your work in getting this to where it's at, with repairing the sewer, getting it all done now is an acknowledgement today of our appreciation on behalf of the residents for those communities when they hear that those streets are finally going to get done. I just want to say thank you on their behalf. And when they start seeing this progress on those streets, I mean, that's been a big eyesore for the city for a long time. And they're not necessarily coming from Measure R funds, correct?
In the capital improvement too?
That's correct. They're coming from both sewer and water improvement funds through the enterprise funds, so that contributes a significant amount to the project.
So thank you, sir. I just have to point that out to the community because we have to celebrate our successes, and that's a major success. I know the council members have always talked about Park and Orchard and Park and Orchard, and you heard us, and I know it took a lot of genius in terms of massaging how that all worked out because it has a lot of underground infrastructure that needs to be looked at and repaired. So again, I just want to commend you, so I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Well, actually, I think.
Well, I will second for discussion and continued conversation.
Okay.
And then can I, could you?
Hold on one second. So it's been moved by Councilmember Chavez to approve item 10, or 11, I'm sorry, 10D, and then seconded by Vice Mayor Crosswhite, and then now we're open for discussion.
Yes. Could you give us a sense, or give the public a sense of when they could expect to see some of this work begin?
So with council's approval tonight, the project will be released for bid this Friday. We'll have a bid close in March, about March 14th, and we'll be looking to return to council with our successful contractor on the April 1st meeting. Hopefully shortly thereafter, we'll be able to mobilize the contractor after we complete contract paperwork to get the work done over the summer, and we'll be looking to complete the paving finally in the fall, which is, I think, the most awaited part of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Cornejo.
First, I think that finance.
Oh.
Say something, and then I would.
Director Ramirez?
I don't know if it's too late, but if there's the possibility to do a friendly amendment, this is just for auditing purposes. The language that's on the staff report says if you could approve budget adjustments, whatever's necessary. And really, that's kind of too wide of a scope for us. The budget adjustments that are requested are in the fiscal impact, so if you could just, the motion could be at the very end of that first one, as noted in the fiscal impact section, with that amendment.
Amended, as amended.
Thank you.
City Manager, do you have the specific language for that friendly amendment?
I have it.
Okay.
Yep.
If you would hand it to, so she can make the motion.
Well, no, you already have
Already made, it's been
And
amended.
he-
But the friendly amendment, though.
Yeah, and
I
Councilmember
accepted.
Chavez already accepted, and
Accepted it.
the seconder also accepts the friendly
I
amendment.
missed that. Thank you. I'm going to sleep at the wheel over here. Go ahead, Councilmember Cornejo.
I just wanted to comment, I believe that some of these things are related in consent. The wisdom of staff bringing to us the Chandler Asset Investment Services has enabled those accounts to grow, which also means that we have more funds for these projects. So this is just shows that it is a system-wide, a citywide effort to make this happen, both on the funding and all the engineering effort to make it happen for the benefit of those who've had to live with those streets. So, thank you.
Anyone else? I just have a couple comments. I don't remember what year it was, but I made a comment one year about Park and Orchard when my wife and I were walking home, and it was so embarrassing to see a man come out of his house and pick up pieces of asphalt and walk it from across the street to his house, because as you know, it's concrete under there and then it's asphalt and the pieces fly off. He literally walked across the street to pick up asphalt to pave the parking space in front of his house. So I brought that up, and this man's going to be delighted. But my question is, kind of like what Vice Mayor Crosswhite said, is when is it going to begin? Because it's such a narrow street, and it's going to impact the parking. Now, I don't know if you're going to do Park Orchard, and the alley all together at the same time. Maybe it does it in phases, but it sure impacts the people there. The good thing is that if you do it in the summer, I mean, maybe some people don't take their kids to school, but certainly some people go to work. So parking is going to be a challenge there. If you can kind of explain if there's any contingency plan for these folks or getting to and from their homes?
We'll have the contractor working with the city's construction manager to kind of manage the phasing, the sequencing to maintain access, both pedestrian and vehicle access. They are tight streets. It's going to be challenging at times, but we'll be working to keep everybody able to get in and out while we're doing the construction.
Thank you. And one of the things you're changing is the size of the mains, right?
Of the water mains, yeah.
Does that increase any water pressure to anybody living in that neighborhood?
Well, I believe it'll be mostly to help with the water suppression, like fire hydrant system, and the water pressure. I don't know that per home that it would change that zone, I wouldn't think.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded. There's a friendly amendment. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor on item 10D?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. We're going to go on to item 11A, which is discussion of urgency ordinance to regulate mobile home park rent and adjustment application frequency. We do have several speaker cards. What's the council's pleasure? You want to hear the presentation first or public comments?
I think it might be best to do a presentation and then public.
Very good. Okay, then if we could have, let's see.
City Attorney.
Oh. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Our city attorney, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This evening, the council is presented with an opportunity to discuss whether to adopt an emergency ordinance that regulates the frequency of mobile home rent adjustment applications. This item comes out of referral from the Housing and Homelessness Standing Committee, and that is in response to community concerns that I've expressed at a number of meetings about applications being filed soon after a decision. So under our current ordinance, there are provisions that allow for an automatic adjustment every year based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI measures inflation, and that is only allowed to increase at 75% of a change in inflation. That happens automatically. No application is required for that. Under our ordinance, there are instances where an application is required to go to our commission for rent increases by park owners. The first one is for capital improvements, so that they can, once parks invest in improvements and amenities like a swimming pool or new street paving, so forth, they can come to the commission and ask for an increase to recover those costs. The other one is called a fair return increase, and this is in order to, under our ordinance, it's a way to make sure that a park is receiving a return on what it invested into the property. And our ordinance uses a term called net operating maintenance income. So once that happens, then it goes to a commissions for these parks to see if they're entitled to an increase in order to maintain this net operating income. Council asked for a survey of what other cities have done in terms of, well, the committee asked for this, of what other cities have done in terms of limiting application frequency. There turns out in Ventura County, and you have a survey in your report, that the limitation is on the type of application increase and not just applications in general. So for example, like in our ordinance, only one CPI adjustment is allowed per year. In other cities like Moore Park, they have operational maintenance increase that can happen no sooner than 1 year since the last increase. However, what is common to all these jurisdictions that I have listed in the report, Ventura County, Moore Park, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, and Ventura, none of them limit what is called the fair return rent increase adjustment. And that is because it is required for an ordinance like this to be valid on its face under the Constitution, that park owners must obtain a fair return on their property. And that's in California Supreme Court cases. So what this means is that the city can limit the frequency of rent increase applications, but in doing so, it cannot in any way deny an opportunity for a fair return to park owners. So what is suggested in the staff report that would likely be upheld in court is an ordinance that states no park owner may apply for a rent increase within 12 months after a decision on the merits of a previous application, absent unusual circumstances. And this accomplishes two things. The park owner, if the decision is on the merits, then they've had an opportunity to have their position heard as to why they deserve a rent increase. And then absent unusual circumstances is kind of like this valve in case something exceptional happens where, say, they got a fair return increase in January, but then 6 months later, utility bills uptick to a ridiculous amount, and they don't pass that on, assuming they don't pass that on to their residents, then they've incurred this unanticipated cost, and so they should be able to return to seek a rent increase to obtain that fair return on their investment. And this is a matter of well-established law. So that would be the recommendation, is to allow for, prohibit park owners to apply within 12 months, not to apply within 12 months after decision on the merits and then absent unusual circumstances. And if that is something council wishes to pursue, that can be done by urgency ordinance. An urgency ordinance would take effect immediately, but requires a 4/5 vote of council. And an urgency finding must be made with that. So if council wants to consider that, I invite council to speak about that today, and we can move forward on how council would like to proceed. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Monica Castillo, our city attorney. We're going to go now to public comment. Just remember that each person has 3 minutes. Cada persona que quiera platicar tiene 3 minutos, por favor. We're going to begin with Tiffany Orr, followed by Amalia Ochoa. This is for item 11A.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Tiffany Orr. I am the Vice President of the 400 Craig Drive Mobile Home Owners Association. I have lived in the 400 mobile states, known as now River's Edge, for 33 and a half years. And in that 33 and a half years is when the ordinance in 1991 took effect. I have seen 2 rent increases, and both of those were in this year by a brand-new owner of the park. 2 of them in 1 year, after they got denied the first one. I'm here today to ask council members and leaders to direct staff to draft a one-sentence emergency amendment. The amendment would allow park owners to the one rent increase application per year and requires park owners to cover all fees and costs associated with the application. I am asking you because this affects those of us that are renting these mobile homes. A lot of us residents are on fixed incomes, and an uncertainties of higher rent affects our budgets, and for some of us will price us out of our homes. This also affects the city. Each rent increase application takes dozens of staff hours, and as a small city who has limited resources, it takes time out of multiple applications. The staff should be focusing on roads, public safeties, and other city matters. I am not against the park owners, but against greedy landlords who will keep filing and filing applications until they get what they want. I am just asking for a reasonable limit, not to ban increases, but to give us residents a chance to not have a burden put on us time and time if they just keep getting rejected from the commission. Thank you for listening to this matter.
Thank you, Tiffany Orr. We have now Amelia Ochoa, followed by Ryan Witt.
Buenas noches de vuelta. Estoy aquí para recordarles que es una emergencia real con los residentes de los parques de trailers. Ellos están con una ordenanza fuera de fecha desde los 80s, donde faltan muchas protecciones. Allí viven familias con niños, personas de tercera edad, quienes solo reciben seguro social. Y también muchos trabajadores quienes apenas les alcanza cómo darles de comer a sus hijos y pagar su renta y utilidades. Urge que como líderes todos pongamos atención a esta emergencia y a las necesidades de nuestra comunidad entera. De Santa Paula, tenemos que pasar un control de renta y más protecciones para todos los residentes, empezando con esta urgente ordenanza de una oración, que debería limitar que las aplicaciones de incremento de renta a que solo pasen una vez al año. Para toda la comunidad de nuestra bella Santa Paula, nuestros jóvenes, niños y familias merecen vivir en paz dignamente en sus hogares. Recordémonos que serán los líderes del futuro. Luchemos juntos por esta urgente ordenanza que proteja a los residentes de parques móviles en Santa Paula y a las facultades de la ciudad. Dios bendiga a ustedes y a nuestra comunidad de Santa Paula. Gracias, si se puede.
Gracias, Amelia Ochoa.
Good evening, Council. I am back now to remind you that there is a real emergency facing residents of mobile home parks. They are living under an outdated ordinance from the 1980s that lacks many essential protections. Families with children live there, as well as seniors who rely solely on Social Security, and many working people who are barely getting by, struggling to feed their children while also paying rent and utilities. As leaders, it is urgent that we all pay attention to this emergency and the needs of our entire Santa Paula community. We must pass rent control and stronger protections for residents, beginning with this urgent one-sentence ordinance that would limit rent increase applications to only once per year. For the entire community of our beautiful Santa Paula, our youth, children, and families deserve to live in peace and dignity in their homes. Let us remember that they are the leaders of the future. Let us fight together for this urgent ordinance that protects mobile home park residents in Santa Paula and the city's workforce. God bless you all and our Santa Paula community. Thank you. Si se puede.
Thank you very much for that English translation. Ryan Witt, followed by Jennifer Hernandez.
My name is Ryan Witt, and I'm here to demand that the City Council of Santa Paula stand up for the rights of tenants by limiting the number of rent increase applications to 1 per year. Greedy landlords should not be allowed to take advantage of loopholes in the system by attempting to increase the already unaffordable cost of rent multiple times in the same year, while shamefully passing down application fees to residents. Tenants need to use their income to afford things like groceries, not to subsidize greedy landlords. City staff hours should be spent defending undocumented community members from ICE, not spending dozens of hours reviewing rent increase applications. We demand that the City Council draft an emergency amendment to limit the number of rent increase applications to 1 per year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan Witt. Now we have Jennifer Hernandez, will be followed by Dirk, is it Lamb? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Juarez and City Council members. My name is Jennifer Hernandez. I'm Associate Policy Director with CAUSE. I'm here tonight to implore the council to adopt this urgency ordinance limiting the frequency of mobile home park rent adjustment applications to once per year. As we've heard, mobile home park residents in the city have been in limbo for over a year due to the loophole in the current ordinance, which has no such limit, a loophole which has been exploited by a park owner who refuses to respect the decision of the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission. Enduring one attempt to raise the rents 45% and now another for 47%, these residents have had to question since January of last year whether they will be able to stay in the homes that they've worked so hard to purchase. The decision from the Mobile Home Rent Commission is pending. We don't know what will happen, but we do know that it's very likely that if it doesn't go their way, they may turn around and do this again. You can make sure that we don't let this happen to more than 100 families in your community, and you can make sure that the city doesn't have to go through another resource-intensive process that takes away from other pressing needs in the community. There's precedent for this in our state. The City of Fremont has a clause in their ordinance that states, "The park owner shall include in any such petition all rent increases desired for a particular mobile home park for that year. No more than one petition may be filed for each mobile home park each year." Similarly, the City of Oxnard in Section 3 of the City Council Resolution 11468 has a clause that states, "A discretionary application must be filed at the same time as the park's annual application for a CPI increase, which is limited to once per year, and no earlier than 12 months after the previous year's CPI application was filed. Hence, a discretionary application can only be filed if it has been at least 12 months since the last application was filed." Multiple other cities throughout California have ordinances that limit rent increases in one form or another. The City of Capitola, Tulum, Cloverdale, Ventura, County of Ventura, among others. So we ask that you draft this and pass this ordinance with urgency. This issue far exceeds the standard for urgency. Please end this limbo and bring back these residents stability that they've worked so hard to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer Hernandez. We have Dirk, I believe it's Lamb. Is it Lamb? Dirk, is Dirk in here? Okay. If he comes back, we'll team. Okay, and then Gladys Valdovinos, and she'll be followed by Nicole Sanchez.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Juarez, and esteemed members of the City Council and city staff. My name is Gladys Valdovinos, and I am president of the Resident Association of the 400 Mobile Estates and a proud member of the community organizing group CAUSE. I am here today to ask that the City Council direct the City Attorney to prepare an urgency ordinance regulating the frequency of mobile home park rent adjustment applications to once per 12-month period. Not calendar year, but 12-month period. This is my humble opinion that both Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles could clearly see that this amendment is a matter of great urgency. There would be significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable impacts to our community if we choose not to act urgently. I say this with respect and as a longtime resident of Santa Paula. If this council refuses to direct the city attorney on this urgent matter, it will negatively impact the health and welfare of the residents of local mobile home parks. I would even go as far as to say that it could get to the point where it could affect the daily operations of the city itself. Do you remember what happened after our park was successful at stopping that outrageous 45% increase? Our out-of-town landlords sent in another application for rent increase 2 days later. Not only does that beat down the residents, but it diverts city time, staff, and resources that could otherwise be spent on doing what it needs to do to run the effectiveness and meet the needs of everyday residents in our great city. So I'm a fan of a thriving local economy that is built on fairness and a vibrant local government that is emboldened to act in the best interest of its residents. Limiting rent increase applications to once per 12 months honors the spirit of both. And don't worry, we won't be the only cities to do this. There are quite a few. Our brothers and sisters over in Oxnard have a good one. Oxnard's equivalent to Santa Paula's application to commission rent increase is called discretionary rent increase application. For Oxnard, a discretionary application can only be filed if it has been at least 12 months since the last application was filed. The bottom line is that this amendment is in the best interest of both the city itself and the local residents of Santa Paula mobile home parks. Since there is no silver bullet, it is important that we don't miss this opportunity to protect and preserve our beautiful city and its ability to be healthy, representational, well-functioning unit of local government that is able to serve all residents. Should I keep going?
Go ahead, continue.
Okay.
Just finish up.
Next month, we will begin our public workshops to discuss improving our mobile home ordinance as a whole. But today, for the aforementioned reasons, it is imperative that we act with urgency. Please direct the city attorney to prepare an urgency ordinance regulating the frequency of mobile home park rent adjustment applications to once per 12-month period. Thank you all, and God bless Santa Paula.
Thank you, Gladys Valdovinos. Now we have Nicole Sanchez, and she'll be our last speaker unless Dirk Lamb returns.
Good evening. My name is Nicole. I'm a resident of Santa Paula, and I'm with the Ventura County Tenants Union. I'm here to urge council members and city leadership to direct staff to draft an emergency amendment that limits park owners to one rent increase application per year and require park owners to cover all fees and costs associated with their applications and not pass the costs on to residents. The residents living at this park and at all parks throughout Santa Paula should not have to worry about constant rent increases and wondering how long they can afford to continue to live in their home. It places a burden on these families trying to plan their monthly expenses and adds worries that a large increase to their rent can take food away from their families and push them out of their homes. With each rent increase application, city staff spends hours working on processing the application, and it takes city resources and staff time away from other city priorities like road repairs and public safety. Continual increases in rent affect all residents of Santa Paula. It pushes people out of homes and into the housing market. It exacerbates the housing affordability crisis and forces longtime residents to leave their home for more affordable places to live. This leaves homes to sit empty for months while a greedy landlord reaps all the benefits of their investment. The best way to keep our city thriving is to ensure people can stay in their homes and build their community and maintain those connections. So I ask that you vote to direct staff to draft an amendment and limit rent increase applications to once a year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicole Sanchez. That's our last speaker unless Dirk? Does that look like Dirk? Dirk Lamb? Okay, not seeing Dirk Lamb in the room. That is the end of our public comment. I do want to note that in addition to the public speakers that spoke this evening, that we also received at least 10 emails with letters in support of this emergency or this urgency ordinance. So we did get those. We just don't read them, but we did, those that sent them in, please continue to send them in. We do read them, and they do become a part of the permanent record. So, and I know that I've received phone calls. I believe all other council members have received phone calls about this subject. So I'm going to open it up now to discussion. Or not?
Are there? I guess.
Of course, go ahead, Council.
I don't have questions necessarily. I have a comment. I just want to share with everybody and commend them for their patience through this entire process. As someone mentioned, we haven't revisited the ordinance since 1986, if I'm not mistaken. And many of the residents who share their concerns that live in the mobile home park didn't learn about how to advocate for themselves, how to change policies, how to influence the changing of those policies. And you came here time and time again as just a neighbor, concerned resident, and you were patient. You stood in meetings, you got together, you organized, and you could see that it takes quite a process to be able to get to this point in time. And so I do want to commend those from the mobile home park that have been actively involved in sharing their community concerns. This is an example of how you can make a difference just by participating in the process. And so I want to acknowledge that we took this, the mayor and I took this through the process, and our Housing and Homeless Committee. We have the complete support and unanimous recommendation for us to move forward with this. And that really says a lot about how we can work together on all sides to find common ground. This is logical, it makes sense, and there's an urgency. And unless there's other questions or comments, I'd like to propose a motion that I've written now.
Actually, this is just a direction, so it's discuss whether to direct the city attorney to prepare an urgency ordinance regulating the frequency of mobile home park rent adjustments. So if we get consensus, our attorney can move forward at however urgency and speed that your office can bring some results back. Yes, Councilmember Cornell.
I personally would like to see our city attorney move forward with this. It seems that our ordinance is out of date, needs to be brought up perhaps to the standards of our neighbors, of our county. We've seen the committee, Housing and Homelessness Standing Committee, make a recommendation after quite a lot of discussion and input. I'm always concerned about what's reasonable and fair, and this sounds like something that should be moved forward. You have to think about landowners, renters, everyone in the community, and how we all benefit or not from that. And it just seems to me, hearing all of this, the discussion and the analysis, that I would wish that our city attorney proceed with that, to bring something back to us in a more formal form. I believe it would take probably, if, as I understand from the report, a 4 out of 5 vote. So it needs to be something, and the reason for that is, if you can say.
That is correct. So an urgency ordinance requires 4 out of 5 council member votes to pass.
Okay, so we would ask that be brought back, being an urgency matter, that it would be brought back as soon as would be reasonably possible for you to do so.
Any other comments from this side? Or
Just a point of clarification, is a motion required to provide you direction?
no?
Or you
Just
can just have a consensus?
Consensus.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments, or?
I was sort of waiting to see if we were going to have a motion or consensus, was like going to discuss a motion, or, so if we're just looking towards consensus, then I think that it's reasonable and makes sense to ask the city attorney to come back with an urgency ordinance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Nellis?
I would agree, and I'd say that, well, thank you to everyone who came and spoke. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you're probably tired from your workday. This is a very important issue, and so I'm glad that we're all in consensus to give the direction to our city attorney to move forward with this. I'm just glad we're here and we're moving forward. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Nellis. And I'd really like to thank all the people in the audience from the mobile home parks, because you not only represent the park you live in, but potentially the future of other mobile home parks. And again, we can't forget CAUSE. You're always here, you're always the advocate, and we really appreciate you as well. So thank you. And I concur with my colleagues to direct our city attorney to move forward with the urgency ordinance. All right. So we're done now with item 11A. I'd like to move on to 11B, which is City Council 2-year, 25-27 City Council 2-year strategic plan, implementation progress report, fiscal year 25, 6-month update, and this will be by Nicole Aspera, our management fellow. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to lose everybody. Look at this, everybody's leaving.
They're tired.
Take a break? Okay, while everybody's leaving, we're going to take a quick 2-3 minute break. Thank you.
It's your second time though, right, Nicole? Yeah, but it
Okay, good evening. We're back from our break. We're now going to move on to action item 11B, Boy, which is 2025-2027 City Council 2-Year Strategic Plan, Implementation Progress Report, Fiscal Year 25 6-month update. And this will be by our management fellow, Nicole Aspera.
Good evening, Council. My name is Nicole Aspera. I'm a Management Fellow in the City Manager's Office, and I'll be presenting the 2-Year Strategic Plan Implementation Progress Report for the fiscal year 2025 as a 6-month update. So the ask is that the City Council receive and file an update on the City Council 2-Year Strategic Plan, specifically for our fiscal year 2025 through 2027. Council, I know you're closely familiar with our strategic plan, but for members of our public who are not as familiar, I would like to provide a quick recap of that plan. We have one vision, one mission, 8 core value statements, 6 goals, 49 objectives, 157 strategic actions. Our vision is that the City of Santa Paula is committed to providing quality services and building a strong, inclusive economy that supports all residents, families, and businesses. We work together to create a vibrant, welcoming community for everyone. Our mission is that the City of Santa Paula is committed to providing and continually creating a safe, sustainable, and innovative place to live, work, and thrive. We have 8 core values, which include forward thinking, collaboration, teamwork, belonging and community, resilience, communication, integrity, accountability, and advocacy. We have a total of 6 goals that defines what we want to do and accomplish through this plan, the implementation of our 2-year strategic plan. And those goals are infrastructure, transportation and mobility, operational excellence, economic development, arts, culture and entertainment, safety and emergency preparedness, and healthy, connected, and thriving community. So an overview of how we've measured this progress, or how it's being measured, is through color coordination. In this case, completed is orange, not started is a dark black or dark green, on track is a light green, and in progress or ongoing is a mustard yellow. We have 49 total objectives, 2 have been completed, 38 in progress, 8 not started, and 1 on track. So starting off with our goal A, infrastructure, transportation, and mobility, we have a total of 8 objectives, most which are in progress, for the exception of 2 that have been completed. In this case, the 2 that have been completed are the bike master plan, create a class 1 and 2 bike trail master plan, and work towards expansion of our existing trails. Rail corridor beautification and improvements, work with partners to make improvements to existing rail corridor. This goes from streets to sidewalks and storm drainages, all the way into mobility with engagement with VCTC. Some progress highlights, as I mentioned already, one that has been completed and highlighted in orange is the applied for grant funding opportunities and explore public-private partnerships to help fund and implement energy efficiency, solar, and electric vehicle technologies. What is currently in progress is the continuous review of payment condition index, PCI, changes year over year, and provide a 5-year payment management updates to council alongside the complete street lighting project on 8th Street. For goal B, economic development, we have a total of 9 objectives, mostly are all in progress, coming from revenue opportunities up to economic development staff. So anything from marketing work with partners to invest in the marketing of Santa Paula collectively to promote Santa Paula to increase economic vitality, business attraction, identify and attract businesses that create jobs, increase revenues, and provide services that meet consumer needs. Some progress highlights, majority of them are on track as highlighted in the teal green is implement software system to reduce cycle time for application and permitting process, evaluate, adopt, and implement an online permitting system, identify critical locations for wayfinding signage to be installed, as we heard through our presentation at the beginning. And currently in progress, something to highlight is to create a welcome toolkit and assemble materials to better demonstrate the city and region's marketability, as well as form a marketing coalition with key partners. For Goal C, Public Safety and Emergency Management, there's a total of 8 objectives. Most are in progress with 1 completed. In this case, the completed objective is the Santa Paula Police Department facility upgrades, which pursue funding to complete facility upgrades for Phase 2. The rest, from cameras to extreme weather mitigation, are all in progress. Progress highlights within Public Safety and Emergency Management, as I mentioned already, the completed is the pursued funding to complete the SPPD facility upgrades for Phase 2. But what is in progress, to go further into depth into that, is the creation of a Police Chiefs Advisory Board and the number of meetings held. And in correlation to our emergency plan and communications engagement, it's to create community engagement strategies to educate residents prior to and during an emergency, as well as seeking funds and grant opportunities to upgrade our dispatch and emergency response systems. Our Goal D, Healthy, Connected, and Thriving, most are in progress with 1 completed. In this case, the completed is the Santa Paula Unified School District partnerships, with working with them to create a joint use agreement for school city facilities. Everything from service technology enhancements to pickleball courts are all currently still in progress. This one is one of our longer, lengthier objectives. In continuation with that, housing to community dog parks are either on track or in progress. And in terms of progress highlights, again, our collaboration with the Santa Paula School District is continuing. In progress is identify goals based on our feedback from our senior master plan, as well as addressing and supporting the needs of unhoused, including behavioral support, explore options for a community dog park, and pursue funding and build partnerships to implement master restoration plan, specifically for the Fagan Barranco Park. Our Goal E is arts, culture, and entertainment. It's 4 objectives in total, all which are in progress, from public art and murals to the amphitheater programming. So this is everything in support to public art and the mural program, and pursue methods to increase funding, as well as establish partnerships and collaborations for diverse programming for the sports amphitheater. As I mentioned already, all are in progress, everything including from adopt and implement standards and guidelines for new development, alterations to existing structures, and preservation of historic resources within historic districts, exploring policies or programs which could establish a % for the arts ordinance, along many more. And finally, our Goal F, operational excellence, has a notable amount of 5 objectives, all of which most are in progress as well. It includes everything from the municipal code to staffing. There's made a comment in terms of staff investments and staffing. Staff investments is development efforts related to employee retention, engagement, and career development. Staffing, on the other hand, is to return to council with strategic staffing plan based on the city's projected growth. And some progress highlights on that is that the review of the city's municipal code to reduce irrelevant codes and update development code is in progress, as well as develop efforts related to employee retention, engagement, and career development. We recently had an employee survey, so that goes along with that. And then exploring AI technology to enhance resident and staff needs or in service needs. And that concludes my report. Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you, Nicole Aspera, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from council?
It's too soon.
Go ahead, Councilmember Nellis.
I just want to thank you for the work you put in and the time to the presentation, and I'm excited that you're one of our fellows.
Thank you. It's my 2nd year, so coming close, but glad to be here.
Councilmember Canillo.
I just think it's been a wonderful tool for us to hone in on our priorities, and also be able to use it as a checklist for things to do. And I also hope that it really helps our new deputy city manager understand who we are and what our priorities are so that she can step in and help us with those too. So thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Mears, you, I don't know, you came from Corona? Is that where? So I hope these ladies keep you busy because they're very task-oriented, so.
I'm probably keeping them busy.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, this is just a receive and file presentation, and do we get another 6 months, update in 6 months?
Yes, you will.
Okay. All right, so receive and file. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 11C, Police Chiefs Advisory Committee formation. We do have one public comment. Let's have our, let's see, is Citlali Salgado still here? Right. So, Chief, we'll go ahead and let you start, and then if Citlali comes back, we'll let her speak. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Mason.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager, Madam City Clerk, and Madam City Attorney. I bring to you tonight a proposal for the formation of the Police Chief Advisory Committee. And I respectfully request the Council to provide some feedback and consensus on guidelines and parameters of the Police Chiefs Advisory Committee. Just to go in a bit of background on this and how it's moved forward, in June of 2023, the Council adopted its two-year strategic plan, which in part called for the creation of a Police Chiefs Advisory Board. It was Objective E5, and this was as a means of enhancing community engagement with our police department. Moving forward to February 19th, 2025, the proposal was brought forth of establishing a public safety committee, and the council noted their willingness to have a further discussion on this topic and recommended it remain focused on police since Citizen Corps was already formed for other uses for public safety, such as fire and emergency services, which is we have currently going on. On June 18th, 2025, Council considered different approaches to establishing a Police Chief Advisory Committee and gave direction for staff to return with basic framework and guidelines for an advisory committee. As we have discussed previously, just to give a background for our audience, these committees, these advisory committees, encourage community input on services and issues. Committee members are typically volunteer members of the community, and they may review proposed policies, practices, community concerns, and recommended public safety strategies. Members typically include residents, business owners, community leaders, and such. And this type of engagement ensures and facilitates two-way communication between public safety and members of the community. Now, under this proposal, the Police Chief Advisory Committee will serve under the direction of the Police Chief based on established guidelines adopted and established by the Police Department. The committee members will be selected through an open application and interview appointment process by the Chief of Police. The Police Chief Advisory Committee would benefit in ongoing and open dialogue with valuable discussion and collaboration as it moves forward. And the details of the Police Chief Advisory Committee proposal are enumerated as follows. Number one, the committee consists of 5 community leaders consisting of residents, business owners, established community leaders, and also members of nonprofit organizations. Number two, an application form will be created and required to be submitted by all candidates. Number three, the membership would be a commitment of 2 years with required attendance at all meetings. 4, meetings convene quarterly on the second Tuesday of the month, so that would be typically January, April, July, and October. 5, agenda prepared for each meeting, before each meeting, and focus on areas of the police department such as policy and standards, work environment, specific needs, staffing and equipment, community engagement, and other facets brought forth by the committee. 6, meeting objectives and goals will be focused according to an established mission and vision for the committee, which I will get into in a few moments. And 7, progress of the Police Chief Advisory Committee would be reported at the Police Chief's Department report to the City Council. On the strategic plan, this specifically meets objective C4 of the current strategic plan, which seeks to enhance community engagement, to connect our police with the community, local nonprofits, and businesses. And this calls for the creation of the Police Chiefs Advisory Board. The document that is attached to the staff report tonight is the contemplated scope and purpose of the committee, and I'll discuss that now. So the document covers a mission statement, an objective, and responsibilities. In the document, the mission of the Police Chiefs Advisory Committee is accomplished within the framework of the following core values: accountability, achievement, commitment, compassion, prevention, protection, and transparency. The objective of the Police Chief Advisory Committee is to advise and/or assist the Santa Paula Police Chief to preserve the peace, protect and serve in a manner consistent with the freedoms that are secured by law. And there's a list of responsibilities. I'll just touch on each one of those briefly. The first one is of the responsibilities for the committee is to create a dialogue and explore perceptions of the police department and community concerning interrelationships with each other regarding public safety issues within the community. 2, receive information concerning the Santa Paula Police Department programs and operations. 3, provide input regarding new programs under development by the Santa Paula Police Department. 4, provide input to the Santa Paula Police Chief regarding service needs within the community. 5, assist the Santa Paula Police Chief in assessing the effectiveness of departmental operations and programs. 6, identify gaps in services and/or communication. 7, enhance the community understanding of the capabilities of the Santa Paula Police Department in providing services to the community. 8, identify potential police community partnerships to address public safety-related issues within the community. And 9, identify community resources and support for public safety activities and provide input concerning perceived effectiveness. And 10, help raise awareness regarding new and future laws, trends, policies, and practices of law enforcement agencies. So the options here tonight for the council are to, 1, approve the formation of the proposal of the Police Chief Advisory Committee under the direction of the police chief. 2, not approve the formation of this Police Chief Advisory Committee. Or 3, direct staff to return with additional information and options and report back to council. So I will conclude before comments and questions saying that this is another important step for us as a police department for transparency, communication, community engagement, and overall improvement of the police department. I appreciate all the council's support with this, and I'd be happy to take any comments or questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. We do have one public comment, and this is Citlali Salgado. Is she here? Yes, ma'am. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Hi, good night, everyone. Mayor Juarez and council members, I'm Citlali, the Santa Paula Cause organizer and a lifelong resident. I want to thank the chief for the presentation, and I want to begin by acknowledging that the current police chief requested this audit that was released not too long ago, and I do believe transparency is important, and an audit is a step in the right direction. However, my concern tonight is not just that an audit happened, it's who's overseeing what comes next and how accountability is ensured moving forward. From my understanding, the committee responsible for responding to and implementing the audit's recommendations will be overseen by the police chief himself or the department. And based on this proposal, since it is not a public safety committee but a police chief advisory committee, that raises serious concerns for many of us in the community because when the same department and the same leadership is responsible for both identifying the problems and overseeing the fixes, it risks becoming a process of prioritizing damage control over transparency and accountability. I also want to share a direct quote from the audit. Poor leadership compounded over several years created a cultural vacuum filled by prior outside police chiefs with their own standards and with what appears to be no attempt to develop real leadership within the department. This was amplified by misconduct and bad decision-making at the top that destabilized an already weak culture. It then lists a history of critical moments. I recommend y'all read to understand our history. These concerns are rooted in what our community has lived through, and Santa Paula has a long, difficult history with policing, particularly communities that have experienced discrimination, unfair treatment, and a lack of trust. Even today, the relationship remains a bit rocky. Just yesterday, there was a car accident near my home where community members were hospitalized, and they were reportedly told that they were at fault almost immediately. And typically, we expect investigations to be conducted thoroughly before conclusions are drawn. And moments like this reinforce why trust is fragile and why process and oversight matter. So respectfully, I ask the City Council to consider a different approach. The City Council should play a direct oversight role in monitoring how the audit or the committee's recommendations are implemented. And there should be clear public reporting on progress, timelines, and outcomes, not just internal updates. And there must be a role for community input or independent oversight, especially from those who have been most impacted by past policing practices. If the goal of this audit and committee is to truly rebuild trust and improve public safety, then the solution cannot be entirely internal. Accountability must be visible, independent, and rooted in community confidence. Sorry. I urge the council to step into that role and ensure this process leads to real change, not just another report on a paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Citlali Salgado. Chief, would you be willing to come up and address some of the concerns by the Citlali Salgado? Thank you, sir.
Sure. In response to the questions or the comments, we have a lot of work to do. We're continuing to build professionalism and trust. And with any police department, there's going to be challenges and mistakes. And we're here about getting more people from outside of the police department, within the police department, from the community, to try and address those concerns that they may have, to address them for the purposes of transparency. So I believe that this advisory committee will be made up of people who have broad concerns throughout our community, and that they can be a very strong presence for us to listen to what their concerns are, whether it be how we do business, how we handle calls, to what focuses do we need to be looking at current crime trends or those kind of things. So we welcome those members of the community to be on the advisory committee and share their visions, their strategies with us as we move forward.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Mayor, could I just point something out, just so there's no confusion? The suggestions, the recommendations before you tonight that are about establishing a committee will not be a committee that will have responsibility for monitoring or tracking the audit.
Correct.
So those are really two distinct things. The City Council first, back in 2023, in your strategic plan, requested that we come forward with the formation of a committee that was then discussed, as the chief pointed out, over the last few years and most recently this last June. So this is really a different concept than like an oversight committee or one having to do with the audit itself. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure. So perhaps in the future, there may be an update of how the checks and balances will occur in response to the audit.
And I believe the chief had said when he presented the audit a few weeks back that the expectation would be to come back to you with an update about other activities in 6 or more months. So I'd be happy to do that.
All right. Thank you. Citlali, I hope, did that answer questions, at least what the chief could talk about that you posed?
Yeah, and I would also like to schedule a meeting with you, just also to get to know each other a little more.
That'd be fantastic.
All right. Thank you both. Questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Councilor Morales.
It talks about 5 community leaders consisting of residents. I guess it would be to the city attorney. Would it be appropriate at all to have a youth join? You know how we have like a student on our Parks and Rec Commission? Just because we talk about perspective and bringing voicing the needs of the community, would that fit into what we're talking about here on this document?
Well, there aren't any prohibitions against appointing a youth to a committee. Council has done it, and I think that's a decision that council can weigh on. My understanding is that council has already directed the chief to form a committee under his supervision, and that council is tonight weighing in on what that should look like, and the chief has heard that you would be interested in having a youth serve on that committee.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, a follow-up on that. I wonder if maybe they could be two different things, depending on how, the only sensitivity I would have is, I don't know what, since this isn't formed yet, I don't know what the environment of it would be and if it would be appropriate for a youth, or if that should be sort of another thing that we would like to see the chief do, is intentionally engage with youth. Because I think that's the part that I agree with you, that making sure that we're getting youth voices and perspectives is really important. And I don't know until he sort of lives into what the committee looks like. I don't know whether or not this is the appropriate place, or if there's another place that would be a more appropriate for how to do that. I know that we do have youth that sit on, the Parks and Rec Commission. I just don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like in practice yet to know whether or not this is the appropriate place. But I think making sure that he's also hearing and engaging with youth voices is really important.
I agree. I don't think we should count it out. Obviously, Chief's not going to be giving specific case details to this committee, right? It's going to be, we don't know what it's going to look like, but I don't want to not think about that option. I think that as a council, we talk about transparency and including our community members. And I still have students, youth who come by my house and share concerns. And so that's why I brought it up. I think that it would be a great opportunity, especially after the day I had today with civic engagement, to allow a student from a youth in our community to be a part of this, to be able to voice those concerns, or at least just listen, understand how things work in the capacity, for the police department, but in this space, right? They're not going to be getting information that shouldn't be. But I just want to explore it. I don't want to take it off the table. I just think that this would be a great opportunity to include youth in our community into this space.
And if I could just point out, the anticipation is that this will be an open application process. So there would be nothing that would prohibit a youth from applying and then, being interviewed by the chief and potentially appointed.
Question regarding who picks?
That is my next question.
Who selects the committee?
That'll be by application, so the application will be formed, and those are kind of things that we would ask, skills and knowledge that be relevant to this committee for the applicants, some other, how would they represent a substantial segment of the community? Those are preliminarily in an application. That's what I would be looking for, and some other things as well, and then making the decision based on their responses and how they're connected to the community and whatnot.
Good, Councilmember Cornell.
A couple of questions. One is, if it's an advisory committee, do they have to follow Brown Act? They do not. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Not if we don't appoint them.
Right.
So that's
I
part
just
of
wanted to
trying to get
define-
away from
Just
that.
clarify that. I think that I'd love to see who applies. I mean, I won't be involved in the process, but who comes, where it comes. I would hope that, as you intend, it would be a very broad representation of the community, so that we do have different, I'm not going to say neighborhoods, I wouldn't say have a senior, have a this or have a that, because sometimes that becomes so limiting if we define those, and then we're trying to fill those slots where we could have, good input from other people that, and then it could, it's not everyone stays for 2 years, and so they may roll in and they roll out. I do hope that people would understand, at least in my view, when we talk about, it talks about where'd it go? The responsibilities, but I would also hope that it is very clear to understand that it's not about specific cases to be discussed. It's not about specific employee complaints, because those should be channeled in another direction. Though that's not the appropriate place. This is to be an open forum of communication with where you may see problems, where there is a lacking of service or a sentiment of lack of service in certain areas that need to be covered. So I would hope that you get really good positive feedback in that, so that we can find where our weaknesses and where our positives are, and so that it not just be, I assume you'll want to know what's being done right and where we can improve, and that would be my hope, that it would be in that spirit. So that's my comment.
Thank you, council member. I think that making sure that we have a clear overview with the panel, or the committee rather, explaining the purpose, goals, and responsibilities. Also focusing on current community policing efforts and initiatives, an overview of the recent potentially crime trends, community safety concerns. I think those are things that are brought to the meetings on agendas, expressing areas of concern, feedback, suggestions, and maybe developing potential focus areas coming away from those agenda and meetings. I think that's the work and the path that we can accomplish together moving forward.
Thank you, Chief. Councilmember Chavez?
Chief, thank you for being proactive and trying to find a way to build a bridge with community, especially in light of all the things that have happened recently. There was a suggestion that we want to be careful that this is not perceived as an oversight committee, and there is language in here that concerns me. Number 5 in responsibilities, assist the police chief in assessing the effectiveness of department operations and programs. I mean, that's something that's very internal. I think it's more about building bridges with community and having them have an opportunity to hear from you about community policing strategies, addressing trends in crime, and so on. But I want to make sure we don't set an expectation on something like this, that there is some sort of operational overview of the internal aspects of our police department. So I want to point that out, and because there is language in here, number 5, and some of these things can be combined, but I just want to be clear about that. The other thing I want to say is that, for the public to understand that the city council does not oversee the police department. That is a responsibility of the city manager. So when it comes to accountability, the accountability lies on the city manager. So in case there's issues of performance, we don't provide that oversight to you. I like the fact that you're going to have a broad group of individuals that can help you kind of not only build that bridge, but also go even further, so that we really live out to our mission and our values as a city, because we are so interconnected. We're a smaller universe, and we hear 1 or 2 degrees of separations on things, and we're also, because of that uniqueness, there's also things that spread out real quick. So I just want to make sure we're very clear and precise about how we let the community know that what this looks like, what this means, and so that there's no clear expectations about some potential oversight. But I do commend you for taking the leadership on this. And I know this was on our 2-year strategic plan 2 years ago, so it rolled over, right? It's one of the things that rolled over. So we'll be able to put that as accomplished.
Yep. Yep.
The other thing I do want to mention is that when it comes to management and supervision of our police department, you must have some professional structures that happen internally and to ensure that we're accountable. I know when things get a little bit more complicated, it becomes, the public's more involved. I think having a group of people that are rooted in community to kind of provide perspectives on how to address some issues that are larger in terms of what's happening in our city regarding public safety. ICE, for instance, as an example, are really critical. So thank you for putting this together, and we're looking forward to just seeing who comes out and who wants to get involved.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Vice Mayor Crosswhite?
I actually wondered, I mean, partially given Councilmember Bordenellis's comment, I wonder about the size and if it should be sort of 5 to 7 members. And that way also, like it says in your staff report, it doesn't say in the actual sort of resolution or not resolution, but the advisory document itself. But it says that there's required attendance at all meetings, and that makes it sound like, oh, well, if you miss one meeting, you're gonna get kicked off. But if you had up to 7 members, that way if somebody's sick and they can't attend, then you still have a good amount of people, and maybe it's something like expected attendance, at all of the meetings. But anyway, that was just a thought, if maybe that would give you a little bit more flexibility without getting, unwieldy big, but then also give some room, if you got a really good youth applicant, that it wouldn't, you would still be able to get enough voices and perspectives and backgrounds to give you some good feedback from the community.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You have your finger on the button.
Yeah, I just have a question. It says that police chief will report to city council on the progress. It doesn't state on here how often. Will that be dependent on something else, or is there, would it be quarterly, like after your meetings, or like calendared around that?
Thank you, Councilmember. To clarify, yes, so when I present my quarterly report, I will report back, and within that report, that's my intention to do that, to make sure that you all stay updated with how we're progressing on that.
Perfect, I just wanted to clarify that, thank you.
And just as a quick point, we're no longer doing quarterlies, we're doing about every 4 months. So, but when the chief does his department report, he would include that.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer. Vice Mayor?
I was just trying to think, in terms of public perception issue, the public perception thing that was raised. And I don't know what the answer would be, but I was trying to think if there would be a way to have, I mean, maybe once the committee starts to be formed, maybe a committee member could attend the interviews, or, I don't know, I was just trying to think if there was a way to get another perspective or two, in case there'd be someone that maybe they didn't interview well because they were nervous, but they'd be an amazing member of the committee. I was just trying to think through how, and I don't know, it's something to think about, but how to sort of live into that without it becoming something that, like, we can't be a part of it because then it becomes Brown Act, but anyway, just something to think about.
Go ahead, Councilmember Cornino.
I just wanted to agree with Vice Mayor Crosswhite on the 5 to 7 is a good, gives the flexibility. If one falls off, you don't have to go through the whole process of applications and that sort of thing. And it does give the ability to have even a broader representation of the community if you're looking for different types of areas that you want feedback from. So that does give you some latitude without having too many rules about it, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Chief, just a couple of questions. It was asked by Councilmember Ornelas and Councilmember Chavez, who selects the committee, and you gave expectations, but I don't know if you actually answered. Who actually picks the committee? Is it you, or is it your staff, or?
It would be the police chief, so it would be me.
I have a follow-up question on that.
Go ahead.
For, like we do, we're not going to pick them because we don't want to do the whole they'd have to follow Brown Act. But for the sake of the public and them knowing who applied, would that be something that would be shared, or how could it be shared in your report? Like, who applied? And not to go too into the details of their qualifications, but to keep that transparency that we talk about, could it in some way be shared why those people were selected for the committee? Since it would be you, like one sole person making the decision, just so that the community understands why those decisions were made without getting too into it?
I don't know if.
We could do
Mr.
a
Singer-
summary of
Yeah.
the applicants, the applicant pool, the size of the pool, and the, you know, I don't think we would want to necessarily single out names.
Yeah.
'Cause I wouldn't want anyone to feel bad if.
I would just like it to be, you know, and like a bit more information on the process so that community understands that there was a process. That it wasn't just like Chief looked at a piece of paper and said, oh, this one's good, or this one's good.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of community understanding the process. I don't know if I'm being clear.
No, you are clear. And, you know, another question comes up, you talk about youth, but again, we've got to be careful, mindful of minors, and, you know,
I
if,
said not all the information.
correct. So, a lot of what is, Councilmember Cornejo?
Not to beat it up too much here, but I trust you to pick who you would like to advise you, because if you have good advisors, that builds success for the project. It would be different if it was an oversight committee, because you don't get to pick the people who are looking over you. So this is advisory, this is a positive, looking for feedback committee. And so, but it would be helpful for us just to know generally, we had 40 applicants, we had, and so I picked this, and this type of person just because this is what they can contribute, and I think, but I do trust you to do that in the process at least, so.
Thank you. And I guess for the benefit of the public, City Attorney could advise on this. This committee, once it's formed, is it a public committee, or they meet in private and the chief reports out?
It could be open to the public, so if the chief wants those to attend, he can announce that and have others be present as well.
Very good, thank you. And last, Chief, anybody else? I just want to point out, Chief, I know you kind of inherited this, but hopefully you worked it so that it works with your ideology and your department as it stands now, and I wish you luck moving forward. I really enjoy your core values, and I looked at it, and I saw that transparency is last. Well, then I thought, well, they're all equally important. Then I realized they're alphabetical.
I was like, wait
So,
a minute.
they're all equally important. But anyway, we always overemphasize transparency, but sometimes underutilize it, but it's on there, so I appreciate you that. If there's nothing else, then this is
Mr.
just
Mayor?
provide feedback. I'm sorry, go
Could I
ahead.
just suggest one clarification, because I think that Councilmember Chavez hit on something important. And as the chief and I and others worked on these guidelines, it was not the intention for there to be operational oversight. I think in number 5, operations implies internal, programs implies more external. What is it that we're bringing to the community, doing with the community, doing for the community? And so I would suggest that we strike the word operational, but leave the word programs. And if there's just general consensus on that, and if the chief's agreeable, I think that we'll go with that.
And quite frankly, if anybody else sees something in there that, you know, they have a question about, be sure to bring it to the chief's attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate everything you're doing. Move forward, and good luck to you on this adventure. So we're just to advise feedback. Have we given enough feedback for you, Chief?
Yes, Council, thank you, and I look forward to moving forward with this and reporting back to you on this applicant selection process information that I can report to you, so it will be helpful for you to understand as we move forward.
All right, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we're done with item 11C. We're going to move on to 12A, future agenda items, and I think there's 2. One is presented. Well, Mr. Singer, you want to talk about the submissions?
Well, sure, I can just introduce this, and let me point out a couple of things with your next February meeting. I know the discussion regarding the LEAP Lab amendment and REC was on the forefront of your last agenda. It's unlikely that that will be prepared for the 18th, so I just wanted to point out that probably gets pushed into March. But you have two recommendations brought forward by Vice Mayor Crosswhite and also by Councilmember Chavez, and an opportunity to discuss whether or not to agendize those for a future council meeting. And so obviously you'll want to hear from both of them.
Sure. We'll hear first from Vice Mayor Crosswhite on regulation of nitrous oxide.
Yeah, this is something that has been, nitrous oxide is something that there are legitimate uses for it, right? Dentist offices, I think whipped cream, like there's very specific culinary and medical and industrial uses for it. However, it is something that has become increasingly popular with youth. Companies produce giant cans that they put flavors in. And I know that there's been some recent posts about people finding massive quantities of, 6 to 8 of these, in places that youth are known to recreate. You have to pay to dispose of the canisters. You can't just get rid of them. And so it's something that both Oxnard and Port Hueneme have recently added language prohibiting the sale of these, especially the flavored ones, but the canisters that are designed for recreational use. And so I just wanted us to see, as we do our municipal code update, if this is something that we would consider adding to our ordinances as we have city attorney works on them.
All right, so what's the council's pleasure on this? Yes, move forward. We got 3, Councilmember. And I agree as well. So we have a consensus to move forward this as a future agenda item. Not an urgency though, right?
No.
Okay, very good.
Just as we move through the code, I know we have a lot of code. So I'm just wanted to make sure that this was on our radar since it's something that's not currently in our ordinance.
Okay, and there's no unknown
Understood.
physical impact.
Add it
So.
in there.
Okay.
Just acknowledging Vice Mayor Crosswhite's requests and that we will make sure to flag this in the code update.
Thank you. And
So just to be clear, it won't come back as a future agenda item specifically, but rather will be coming back as something that will fold into some of the, I don't know if it's the safety, I don't know what provision in our ordinance it would fall under, but
And
health and safety.
I can
probably.
pull from both Oxnard and Port Hueneme which section it was in. I looked at them, but I can't off the top of my head tell you which section it was in.
A health and safety title.
Yeah.
The code probably.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then the second item we have was future agenda item submitted by Councilmember Pedro Chavez, resolution of immigration. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. In light of the state of the union that we're in currently, I drafted a proposed resolution to state our values in light and send a message of support to our community in light of all the things that we're witnessing across our country. I think it's written in a way that, again, exemplifies who we are as a people, recognizes that our immigrant community, whether documented or undocumented, play a big role in our community success. And so I'm asking my colleagues to consider adding this to the agenda as a resolution. Since we have a legislative platform, this can be something that can be put in as a trailing document potentially, so that if we run into issues, that we have a clear statement about where we stand against discriminatory and unfair practices conducted by federal overreach.
All right, thank you. And again, no physical impact. I do want to ask Councilmember Ornelas and Vice Mayor Crosswhite, you're on the ad hoc immigration. What's your thoughts on it? I know we can't discuss it too much, but is this something you would like to review first?
I wouldn't mind, this was something we had talked about at our last meeting, bringing something forward. So if you all wouldn't mind, if we could take this and take a look at it, and then this can be something that we, that would come then back at it after we've had a chance to take a look.
And if you determined, again, collectively, that this is an urgent, in light of where we are, by all means, please present that as an urgency if you believe it falls into that category. Is that okay with you, Councilmember Chavez?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Cornell?
I would just appreciate the chance of some wordsmithing. I think a lot of times in our past, sometimes you can present things that say things of import that can be more inclusive than drawing lines, and sometimes that can be very positive. So I really would hope that this is a very thoughtful process that moves us forward, all of us as a community, in a positive way for our community, and not necessarily, I don't want to characterize anything right now because then it becomes discussion, but I just look forward to a very thoughtful process about this. I'm not against a proclamation, but I'm afraid of consequences if it's not thoughtful, so.
Well, thank you for that. Anyone else? Go ahead, please. Oh, I thought you were going to. Again, if you're going to wordsmith that and present it, obviously you can't share it now with all of us before it comes back to the council. So I think we trust you to move forward with what Councilmember Chavez brought forth and language that you can come up with other organizations and language you've gotten elsewhere, and present something that, as Councilmember Cornejo says, is very thought-provoking, but, worthy of scrutiny as well. All right? Is that good enough? All right, so that is the end of future agenda items. I think that is it. Yeah. 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 So unless there's anything else, I would like to acknowledge one of our past employees, Joseph Paul Byram. They've known him by several names, Joe, Coach Bob, or Coach Joe, I'm sorry, Coach B. But I would like to close this meeting in his memory and honor, and that is Joseph Paul Byram. He's past supervisor in our Public Works Department. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting now at 9:33.
May he rest in peace.
Yes.